And we're back. Brandon Rhymes here. Consumer Quarterback Show powered by the Platinum MVP team. Coming up, attorney Jason Kobal Law. We're going to discuss with him some current events, also tips that he has for applying for disability, and, of course, more about his business. Before we do, I want to give a shout-out to one of our special contributors, Replenish IV Solutions, longtime friends of the program. Replenish IV Solutions, you go down to their offices. They've got multiple locations, or they can actually come to you. They have nurses that will come to your home or office, and you get a vitamin infusion drip. Talking about all the good stuff, C's, B's, all the good stuff into your body, direct infusion into your bloodstream. ReplenishIVSolutions.com. Make sure you let them know the Real Estate Quarterback sent you. Take them up on special offers and incentives just by mentioning that you're a fan of the Consumer Quarterback Show. All right, a couple of quick properties here. 13232 Blissfield Road in Odessa. This is a new listing to the Platinum MVP team, Keller Williams. We got a great opportunity. This is 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1852 square feet. It is a 0.33 acre lot, spacious living around this property in Odessa. Odessa is a great area too. What a great opportunity. And you have a lot of construction going on in this area, so the owners are motivated to make a deal. You have limitless possibilities for outdoor activities, gardening, expansion of the property. You're 1 mile from Hillsborough County, 1 block away from State Road 54, so there is a lot of expansion going on. There's a new Lowe's that is being built right there as well. Currently dirt roads, but there's plans to pave 2 paved roads there as well. Starkey Ranch is across the street. Blissfield Road, Odessa, another one of our hot real estate listings from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. 4501 Garnett Drive, Newport Richey. We got a waterfront property here available. Bring your boat and access the Gulf of Mexico from this beautiful property at 4501 Garnett Drive, Newport Richey. 2215 square feet, 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath, private community boat ramp. You also have in your backyard a place to put a boat lift as well. Fireplace in the great room. Golf cart friendly community. Great opportunity here. 4501 Garnett Drive, Newport Richey. You can see all of our real estate listings at PlatinumCoastalElite.com.
We say grace, we say ma'am, if you ain't into that, we don't.
There's a little Hank Jr. for you, a little throwback there. All right, so we got Jason Kobal back on the program. Jason, welcome back, sir.
Hey, Brandon, always a pleasure. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, likewise. So give us the update that you have. You had mentioned you maybe have some tips for applying for disability.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this because anyone who is in this system probably knows that the Social Security system is extremely backed up. It's moving slower than ever. It was slow before, but now it's really bad. So things that, from the time you apply until you get to a hearing, it used to be like 2 years. Now it's getting to be more like 4 and even 5. So it's scary, but I tried something in a case that worked, and I recommend it to anybody. If you're at the hearing phase where you're waiting on a hearing and you already know which office is going to handle the hearing, it's still a lot of waiting until they schedule your hearing, and you have to have 90 days notice. They have to give you 90 days notice for the hearing, so you have time to prepare. If your attorney is willing, if you have a representative, or if you're representing yourself, send them a letter telling them that you're willing to waive that and you're willing to have the hearing by phone, by Zoom, anyhow, and you want it as soon as possible. Now, that might sound risky, but I tried that on a case on a client who was desperate to get her case heard as soon as possible, and it worked because she had a trial date actually set for February of 24, and we sent that letter last week, and we just had the hearing this morning.
Oh, wow. So those are good results. A lot of the courts, can you talk about this just in general, Jason? Are the courts being backed up? Because I hear, even family law or, immigration courts. Are you seeing the courts backed up in a lot of different areas, or are certain courts more than others?
Absolutely. Brandon, you hit the nail on the head. It is a huge problem for a lot of reasons. Obviously, there's legitimate reasons, like, for example, the law changes on on the car accident laws recently made, drastic changes. That's one way. But also, there's a lot of politics these days, and there's cases being filed for political reasons exclusively, and that's not good. Anytime that somebody files a case for reasons other than winning that particular case, it's a problem, and there's a lot of that going on. and it bogs the system down. But yeah, I mean, right now there's a long wait for most civil cases.
Yeah, I've seen that. And what about Zoom? I know for a while there, a lot of attorneys were doing Zoom. Are they still in person more now, or is it still Zooming?
Oh, I tell you, that's another great question. It has changed permanently, forever. It's never ever going to be the same. For example, in workers' comp now, there's no more in-person mediations. It used to be mandatory, and now everything is either by phone or Zoom. It's completely changed. Now, luckily, I think I prefer in-person, especially when it comes to trial. Most judges are back to in-person trials, in-person jury trials for sure. But still, there's a lot of judges making a lot of important decisions by Zoom and by phone. But yeah, it's changed the field completely.
Yeah, if you just joined us, we're talking with attorney Jason Kobal, Kobal Law here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Now, one of the things we've talked about over the years too is just this kind of pernicious activity on the left, and the BLM, Antifa, what they actually are is a basically the militia arm for the Blue Party. And Tucker just says it so eloquently here. I want to play this and get your reaction, because we just found out the medical examiner's report came out from the St. George Floyd case. And it's interesting how Tucker is so spot on with his monologue. It's a little longer clip, but bear with me here.
Now that we know that it was not, in fact, a pandemic of the unvaccinated, now that we know that Ukraine is not actually winning the war against Russia, it could be time to revisit some of the other slogans we've been assured are true and ordered to repeat. Are they in fact true? Did, for example, a racist white cop actually murder a man called George Floyd, a civil rights leader, in Minneapolis on Memorial Day of 2020? Now, we've been told that happened, told it relentlessly for more than 3 years. So at this point, we've been told it so much that pretty much everybody seems to believe it. And because everyone does kind of believe it, a small group of people has been allowed to make massive changes to American society. They include, but are not limited to, decriminalizing stealing, defunding the police, adding a new federal holiday to the calendar called Juneteenth, the ceasing of hiring all white men in corporate America, and of course, significantly, they also sent a cop called Derek Chauvin to prison for more than 40 years. He would be the racist white devil who murdered George Floyd. But the question is, did he actually murder George Floyd? And the answer is, well, no, he didn't murder George Floyd. And we're not guessing about that. We know it conclusively, thanks to a new court case now underway in Hennepin County, Minnesota. The case was brought by a prosecutor there called Amy Sweezy. She's suing her boss. So the case is not actually about George Floyd or Derek Chauvin, but it tells you an awful lot about both of them. In her deposition, which you should read, Amy Sweezy describes a conversation that she had with the county medical examiner, Andrew Baker, right after George Floyd died. Quote, "I called Dr. Baker early that morning to tell him about the case and to ask him if he would perform the autopsy on Mr. Floyd." Sweezy recalls all this under oath in the deposition. Quote, "He called me later in the day on that Tuesday, and he told me that there were no medical findings that showed any injury to the vital structures of Mr. Floyd's neck. There were no medical indications of asphyxia or strangulation." Oh. In other words, George Floyd, according to the official autopsy, was not murdered.
So what's your reaction to that, Jason?
Oh, man. It's devastating. I don't know what the defense attorney was doing in that case then, because that's not what played out at trial. It's disturbing because, that case bothered me for a lot of reasons. And one prior incident with that gentleman, he actually was part of a group that robbed a pregnant woman, and he held a gun to the pregnant woman's belly.
Yeah.
At gunpoint while the rest of his group robbed her. That always bothered me. The case bothered me on a lot of levels. But they blew it up, and the social impact was drastic. I mean, people were allowed to loot. It basically changed society, and they allowed the violence. And to this day, that they haven't been held accountable. The people that lost their mind that summer.
Yep.
I mean, this is just typical though that we find this out now.
Yeah, and it just plays into the narrative as well of the two-party or the two-tier justice system, right? So you got J6ers that were overly prosecuted, and some people that didn't even enter the building, and you got these guys putting out memes, getting 7 months. The guy that just put out his meme, but then this George Floyd situation came out, and it just got totally blown out of proportion, and you had Democrat. From all levels, senators on up, basically saying, yeah, we got to raise money to allow them out, to help them get out of jail. So they were supporting it. So it's really hard to see how it's not the militia arm, the people that will march in the streets, burn, loot, and be a show of force. Same people that were showing up outside of the Supreme Court justice's house with weapons. Right. So it's like the left is using this as their military arm, their enforcement arm.
Definitely. It's definitely a two-tier justice system. And in my personal opinion, and I can't prove this, but I honestly think it's all tied together as far as, obviously, I don't think they intended on that happening, what happened to George Floyd, but that situation happened, and they took advantage of it. And then once they did, I think they were looking for a situation like that to go forward with this, blowing it up socially, and then allowing that violence all summer. And then on January 6th, when there was a lot of people upset over the election, there was, I would say, less violence than in the summer. And then, they're all paying for it dearly with long sentences now. And I don't ever condone breaking the law, but it's the difference is drastic, and you can see. But I honestly feel that it was possibly done intentionally. I feel confident that January 6th was a setup.
Yeah.
And I feel that, it helped them that, to show the society, you get away with looting, you can get away with doing this, and as long as you're protesting. And that kind of made them feel on January 6th, hey, maybe we could be a little aggressive protesting. I don't know. That's just my opinion, and boy, they pay for it.
Well, as long as you're protesting for the right side, or the left side, that is.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Jason, what's your take? I want to get your take before we go to break here, just kind of quickly. What's your take on the new speaker? I saw his speech. It looked like, it sounded like he was very charismatic. He was hitting on the high points of a Christian nation founded on Judeo-Christian principles, talked a lot about God, family, faith. Seemed like he was very impressive.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because that was the exact impression I got. I was actually blown away, because I don't know a lot about him. Other than, I knew that he was in the Freedom Caucus, and I know he's a Trump supporter, but I thought he was tremendous, and I thought he did a great job of even reaching out to the other side, believe it or not, and making the point that we have to unite now. Times are crazy. We have to start doing what's best for our country, and protecting ourselves a little better instead of self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah, we really need to do that. We got to come across party lines and work with each. Hey, look, if certain things aren't going to work, let's not even touch it. Let's start with the ones that we know we need to fix, and the ones that both parties can at least come together on, like the open southern border, with all of the crime and fentanyl and trafficking that's happening there, and possible terrorists coming across our border. It seems to me like that's the low-hanging fruit. I want to get more of your comments coming up here. More with attorney Jason Kobal Law coming up on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Taking a quick break, and we want you to please subscribe to the podcast as well as our YouTube channel. We'd greatly appreciate that. It really means the world to us. It helps the algorithms and all that good stuff. Brandon Rhymes Realty, Consumer Quarterback Show as well. And we'll be right back here. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, this is Grant Cardone, and you've been listening to the phenomenal Brandon Rhymes, the Consumer Quarterback Show.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. They offer the very best nationwide coverage on 4G and 5G LTE networks and exceptional 100% US-based customer support. Patriot Mobile offers discounts for veterans and first responders, NRA members, and families with multiple lines. Learn more at patriotmobile.com/consumerqb. That's patriotmobile.com patreon.com/consumer QB. Or if you'd like to give us a call, you can reach out at 727-263-3707. That's 727-263-3707. And we'd be happy to tell you more about Patriot Mobile. Selling commercial, vacant land, or residential properties? Don't leave money on the table. List with the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm Brandon Rhymes. You can reach me at 727-263-3707. Call or text 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
You're listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, we're back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show. Quick shout out to Patriot Mobile. If you haven't heard about these guys, they do such a great job. They, Christian conservative, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. PatriotMobile.com/consumerqb is the link that you want to go to. PatriotMobile.com/consumerqb.com. We got to start rewarding more of these companies that do the right things, align with our values. America being founded on Christian, Judeo-Christian beliefs and value system, and our whole, the Liberty Bell, everything that goes associated with our country's founding. Patriot Mobile, let them know the real estate quarterback sent you. Take them up on those special offers. All right, let's jump right back into it. So we've got attorney Jason Kobal coming up here, Kobal Law. Before we do, just one of our quick listings. I want to do a listing here that we've got at 3864 50th Avenue South in St. Petersburg. 3864 50th Avenue South. This property comes with fixed rate financing in place. Kind of a unique program. The first that I've seen in the country. This property comes with a fixed rate. I believe it's at 6.625. So a low rate attached to the property. Pretty cool. Of course, there's qualifications you got to meet, credit scores, etc. But this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, 1659 square foot home. Gorgeous interior, well done on the decor, the design, lighter colors. It's got a really cool kitchen island there as well. Stainless steel appliances, beautiful property, marble flooring, screened-in back patio as well. Now, you're only a block away from the recently renovated Maximo Marina and the famous docks there, Tiki Docks as well. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage at 3864 50th Avenue South in St. Petersburg. And you can see all of our real estate listings at PlatinumCoastalElite.com.
Try that in a small town. See how far you make it there.
All right, Jason Kobal back here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Jason, what else are you seeing out there, my friend?
Well, I'm actually glad you asked me that. I would like to follow up a little bit more on the new speaker, Johnson, and I wanted to finish a point. I'm excited about him because one thing he said during his speech yesterday is that he wants to change the way they operate as far as these darn omnibus bills where they pack all the money into one big ball and you can't individually look at each one. They don't even have enough time to review it, and then they're voting on it. That's not going to be anymore. For example, if you noticed, President Biden gave a big speech the other night, and it seemed going into it, it was all about supporting Israel, which I'm all for, our most important ally. It was horrific what happened there. But then the speech happens, and he's asking for $60 million for Ukraine and just 14 for Israel. And the whole point of the talk, it was supposed to be about Israel. And he's using it to get more money for Ukraine. In my opinion, that was disgusting. But that's exactly the type of bill I'm talking about. Those need to be handled separately and individually because they're two totally different situations with totally different support.
It's true. Yeah, and they'll throw it under like infrastructure, right? And they'll say, oh, well, this senator or this representative voted no for government or for military funding or voted no for the infrastructure plan. You'll see those commercials coming about in probably 6 months, right? You'll start seeing those TV commercials or Facebook ads, and then they'll use that against that candidate who voted no for the bigger picture item, this omnibus that was too big. Again, we're spending ourselves into bankruptcy here as a country. it's ridiculous how much money that we're spending. And I think as the clock ticks, I liked what Speaker Johnson did too. He said by the time this speech ends, we're going to have added however many millions or billions it was to the. Remember that little line that he had there? It was interesting because it's true. I mean, just the amount of money and interest that's just piling up with this overspending, and then they're going to come to us, the American taxpayers, and say, "Hey, I'm sorry, you were at a 30% tax bracket. Now you're going to be at the 40% tax bracket." They're going to come to us for more money at some point, Jason.
Yep, I agree. It's time to use common sense. The border scares me. Right now, there's legitimate. The FBI came out and warned that there's Hezbollah, members of Hezbollah and Hamas, talking to the cartel about crossing our southwestern border. And so we know that threat is happening. We know it's there, and yet we have the border open still. Like, that's crazy.
Yep.
I mean, we've got to start making common sense decisions, putting the country first.
Yeah, it's sad to say, but I just feel like we do have a traitor in the White House. I really do. I mean, they want it to happen. They want chaos. They want a reorganization of everything. It's the Marxist way, right? You got to break down the existing institutions in order to reallocate it in the way that you want, right? And if you really break down the Iran deal with Obama's Iran deal, we don't have time here to do it right now, but what he did is it was a push to get Jewish Democrats out of power and replace those centrists for far more radical Eli and Omar type people in government. So, but yeah, I really don't think they care about the southern border. They want it open.
Yeah, and I heard that when Trump was running in 2020, he warned that this would happen. And to be honest, I didn't believe him. I'm like, nah, this can't possibly be true. But now I do believe that it is true. It's disgusting. I mean, it has to be intentional.
It's a new paradigm, right? Anyway. I mean, you got men competing in women's sports. You've got all these different situations that we never thought we would see. And I grew up in, of course, the 90s for the most part, and you kind of come to life, and you start hearing about communism, socialism, and you're thinking, wow, not really. How could that happen in our country? But man, it's here. It really is. We've got to. But what can we do about it? I want to shift gears here, and what can we do outside of praying and being positive? And the Bible says we need to be joyful. I was just listening to Dennis Prager last night. His awesome book series called Rational Bible, and we are put here to be joyful and to enjoy life. But at the same time, we have these challenges. Jason, a minute back to you, my friend.
It's tough, man, but I say more of us have to, it's not our comfort zone, but more of us have to get involved politically, whether it's locally or what have you. For example, when he was running, when they nominated Justin, I said, a lot of people say he doesn't have a lot of experience. He only has 2 terms. That's a lot of time. Yeah. And we want to move to term limits, so we better get used to having House speakers with that much experience, because term limits, that probably is the future. At least that's what we say. Right. Yep. So, in order to make stuff like that happen, we need fresh faces in there. And to make change, we need new people. So my advice would be to try to get active.
Yeah, and know how to explain. I was just talking to another friend of mine, just how to really answer and rebut when they say, "Oh, well, our country was founded on slavery." You got to those little nuggets is like, no, it wasn't. We were actually the first country to do away with slavery, and every country in the world at the time had slavery. By the way, women's rights. We were the first country to give women's rights. There's some countries in the Middle East that don't have women's rights. All right, Jason Kobal, that's our time. How do you want people to connect with you?
TampaWorkCompLaw.com or call the show.
TampaWorkCompLaw.com, ConsumerQB.com, or give us a call on our hotline as well. Hey, another great show. I want to thank Andrew QB, U.S. Commercial Business Capital, of course, attorney Jason Kobal, all of our producers putting the show together. Please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Do something kind for one another and be a force for good in the community. We'll see you next time. Consumer Quarterback Show, ConsumerQB.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.